training. And after we cross over the Bronx River, we'll be transported to Asia as if by magic, where we will see animals from China to India, Cambodia to Nepal, and more. So guys, for your safety and the safety of others, please remember to remain seated with your hands and feet inside of the train car at all times. This applies to both adults and children. And if you turn around, you'll see a black box next to the door. That is our intercom system that you can use to contact me in case of an emergency. Now, the Bronx Zoo is the headquarters for the Wildlife Conservation Society, also known as WCS. We have scientists and legal guards working in the field, as well as zookeepers here at home to protect our animals. But now we have traveled over 7,000 miles and have arrived in Asia. Asia is not known with the largest number of deer species and is known for its deer diversity. So these large light-colored deer are the Bactrian deer. They're native to Central Asia and they are a new addition to the monorail. This is the first year that we've had them. And those large chocolate brown deer are the Barasingha deer. Barasingha in Hindi means 12 tint, and the males have 12 to 14 points on their antlers, whereas the females do not have antlers. And throughout our tour, you will notice a lot of peafowl roaming around, and the peafowl are India's national birds. The males are called peacocks, the females are called peahens, and we do allow them to roam around freely, so again, you will be seeing quite a few of them throughout the entirety of our tour.
Not the ones with the lions.
And if you start looking over to your right, you'll see two small farm huts. These buildings actually represent a very interesting WCS story.
Farmers in
Hi.
Farmers in Indonesia live closely with wild animals, like elephants, which we will see shortly. WCS field staff work with local leaders and farmers in Indonesia to come up with the Crop Protection Unit. This unit created many different ways for farming to continue in close proximity of wild animals. One strategy was to soak ropes in chili powder and place them around the crops. Elephants do not like chili and leave the farms alone, allowing the farmer and the animals to share the habitat peacefully.
Now we all know a species that no longer exists is extinct, such as dinosaurs and the birds. Our next animals were actually on the verge of extinction. As soon as you enter the enclosure, look over to your right and you'll see our Mongolian wild horses. And these wild horses were actually extinct in nature and they could only be found in zoos. Thankfully, they have been successfully reintroduced back into the wild in some parts of Mongolia and China. Now you may notice some differences between these horses versus our domestic ones, and these horses have a stockier build, shorter legs, and an erect mane, meaning that these horses have a mohawk. They're also missing a forelock, which is the piece of hair that falls over the forehead of our domestic horses. And now the highway right behind us. And this large fence line that you see here in front of us is used to reduce the noise of the city traffic for our next animal. So again, I am going to remind you all just to please remain seated because this is probably one of the worst enclosures to fall into. We are now on the lookout for a tiger. Now, although tigers have a bright orange coat with black stripes, it does offer them the perfect camouflage to hide behind bushes and tall grass. But if you look over to your right, sitting in the pool of water is our Amur tiger, Anakin.
Look in the pool. He's in the pool.
Again, he's going to be over to your right in this little pool of water. Now, although tigers are solitary, meaning that they do live alone in the wild, which is why, unfortunately, you will only be seeing one of our tigers out here today. And tigers usually prefer to eat wild snakes and medium-sized deer, and they will typically gorge themselves on a fresh kill. They will eat up to 40 pounds of meat, which is the equivalent to 160 hamburgers in just one sitting. After such a large meal, they will not eat again for several days. Now, Anakin is the largest tiger that we have here at the monorail, weighing over 450 pounds. But if you'd like to see more of our tigers, don't forget to check out Tiger Mountain.
Worth it. Look back there, it's all pens.
But now over to your right, we're entering the back of the Gower enclosure. If you look at the top of the hill, you should be able to get another look at them. And remember, if their horns are curved inward, you're looking at a female. And if they're pointed up slightly, you're looking at a male.
Oh yeah, these are the same ones from before.
You will see a few more of our brow antlers here, laying in between those two fallen tree logs. But now down to your right, we're entering the back of the first meadow we were in, where we saw some of our Bactrian deer and Barrasinga deer. You will notice a few more peafowl on the side of the meadow. And here's a note from one of our keepers with her day-to-day life working with these animals.
WCF. The rhino.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm part of the Wild Asia Keeper team. We call this area Kaha Meadow, where we care for about 40 Barrasinga deer, 15 axis deer, 10 black buck, and a pair of muntjac. We start our day by checking on all the animals, making sure they are healthy, behaving normally, and safe. Sometimes fawns and calves are born overnight. Newborns are given a neonatal exam, which includes weighing, vaccination, and tagging for identification purposes. While the animals are in the meadow, we prepare their nighttime holding areas so that they have a safe and clean place to spend the night.
We are now entering a bamboo forest, so keep a good lookout for our next animal. It blends in closely with the muddy environment and likes to call home. So if you see a pig-like animal with tusks curved backwards towards its eyes, you have spotted our male babirusa. He's walking along the path in front of us. His name is Linus. And in the second pen, we have another male owl. Now, I don't see our second male, but the males have tusks that curve backwards towards their eyes. The females have no tusk and a longer snout.
Oh, there it
But
is.
don't even worry if you couldn't see our babirusa, because you will not miss our next animal. We are now pulling up on the largest land mammal, our Asian elephant Patty.
Here come the elephants.
Now she is going to be over to the right of the enclosure, so don't worry, we'll get a really good look at her as we're coming in closer. And here at the Bronx Zoo, we do offer our elephants a lot of personal attention, including baths and pedicures given weekly by our zookeepers. And that large tree stump that you see next to the pool of water is actually an elephant-sized back scratcher. As you're coming in closer to Patty, you may notice some dirt and hay on her back, and she actually put that there herself to protect her skin from the sun and insects.
All right, here we go. Here we go, Nate. Right.
So as we're coming in closer, I want you all to say hi to Patty.
Hey, Patty.
Hey, Pat.
And I want you all to notice her large size. Now she weighs over 10,000 pounds and she has to eat a lot of vegetation. Now she eats 200 pounds of hay a day and drinks 60 gallons of water. Again, this is baby. And if you can, try to take a good look at her trunk. That trunk has over 40,000 muscles in it, which is more than the human body itself. It also has a finger-like feature at the end that only Asian elephants have, which allows them to pick a blade of grass from the ground or tear down all of these surrounding tree branches with enormous force. But now, as we're saying bye to Patty, we are on. One is called the sandbar deer and the other are the nilgai antelopes. So once we enter the other side of this meadow, I will show you guys exactly where to look. Now they can be a little hard to find just because they do like to hide along the back fence line. But these large chocolate brown deer, you're going to see they're called the sandbar deer, and they are the largest deer species in Southern Asia. The males can stand up to 5 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh over 650 pounds, making them the largest deer that we have in the monorail. And these large tan antelopes you're going to see, they're the nilgai antelopes, and they're the largest Asian antelope species. They get their name from the look of the males because nilgai in Hindi translates to blue bull, and the males have a bluish tint to their coat, of course, that come out of the top of their head. The hair of the monorail, we do have all females, and they have a tan color to their coat with no horns, and that just means that the species is sexually dimorphic. The males and the females look different. So once we turn the bend, look down to your right, you'll see a mud trail. Follow that mud trail straight down to the back fence line. You'll see all of our sandbar deer sitting back there. And then if you look over to the right corner of the meadow, you'll see a lot of our nilgai antelopes over here. Take a good look at their hooves. They have these white rings that go around them, which makes it look like they're wearing boots. Again, those chocolate brown deer are the sandbar deer. But now our next species is almost impossible to find, so guys, keep a very good lookout. Follow the fence line in front of us all the way down to the back boulders to your right. That is where our Chinese tufted deer like to hide. Now these deer are so hard to find because they weigh less than 40 pounds.
Oh, there
And
it
they
is.
do prefer the cooler temperatures rather
Right there.
than the warm. So on days like today where the temperature is a little higher, it is rare to see any of them just roaming around. But it's also rare to find any of these deer outside of zoos in China, so the Bronx Zoo is very thankful to have someone right here with us. And now the next part of our tour is the perfect photo opportunity, so guys, get your cameras ready. We are now crossing back over the Bronx River, which is the highest point of our tour at 35 feet. So again, this is the perfect photo opportunity. Thousands of commuters cross over this waterway daily, and under highways and elevated tracks, the river still rushes along, providing a habitat for ducks, fish, and migrating birds. Now you may also see some outlines of fish and turtles in the water, but please do not stand up to look. Rivers are vital resources for wildlife all over the world. Now, the rocky terrain of this area that we're now entering is the perfect environment for our next two species. They're both adapted to climbing rugged mountain slopes, and they're the relatives to wild goats. So if you look over to your right, these are the Himalayan Tar and the Markhor.
Wow, look at this one right
Now,
here.
the Markhor have these large corkscrew horns, and they have a wizard-like beard growing around their neck. They're also the national animals of Pakistan. Now, the male's horns can grow up to 5 feet long, whereas the female's horns only grow up to 8 foot. But the other species in this enclosure is called the Himalayan Tar. They do look very similar, except their horns are much smaller and curve backwards towards the back of their heads. So the hooves of these animals have a rubbery cork stem, which helps them to grip and climb on things much like a boot does. As it allows them to climb those boulders that you see in the back of the enclosure, as well as climb trees just to reach fresh leaves. But I am now slowing down our tour so we do not miss our next animal. So if you guys look over to your right, past this large V-shaped tree, look down on the small tree, you'll see our red panda Linus. Now guys, he is sleeping right now, so please do not yell at him. But again, over to your right, past the large tree, look down on the small tree, you'll see our red panda. Again, his name is Linus, and he is sleeping right now, so please do not yell at him. In Chinese, red panda is translated to small bear cat, and that is exactly what he looks like, a small bear cat. Today we know that the red panda is not actually related to the giant panda, and they're more closely related to skunks, raccoons, and weasels, although they do both eat bamboo. Now, if you'd like to see more of our red pandas, don't forget to check out the Himalayan Highlands. It's just a short walk away from the monorail, and you can find some of our Asian big cats there, such as the snow leopards. So again, if you want to see more red pandas, maybe some snow leopards, you guys can head over to the Himalayan Highlands. It is just a short 5-minute walk away from the monorail. But now, as we're turning this bend, our journey is almost to its end. You have heard from animal experts here and in the field, as well as tried some of your own scientific skills. Now, the Bronx Zoo is part of the Wildlife Conservation Society, which manages 5